Kick it off now with this top story. Senate candidates Roy Moore and Senator Luther Strange going head-to-head today in Alabama's runoff election. Polls are now open from 7 this morning until 7 p.m. tonight. President Trump tweeted this just a few minutes ago. Luther Strange has been shooting up in the Alabama polls since my endorsement. Finished the job. Vote today for Big Luther. This as former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon took the other side. Duck Dynasty's Phil Robertson also came out in support of Roy Moore, who says the race has been riddled with false ads against him. Watch.
Nearly 3 months of negative ads that we couldn't answer with money because we didn't have it. Ads that were completely false. That I don't believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in the Second Amendment. Guns don't kill, people kill. Cars kill. Are we going to get rid of our cars? Are we going to get rid of our knives? No, we've got to bring morality back to our country.
Joining me right now is Georgia Senator David Perdue. And Senator, thanks very much for weighing in this morning. Good to see you. Does the president's endorsement of Luther Strange ensure him a win in Alabama? I mean, he's been down.
Well, it'll make a big difference. I mean, the president and the vice president are very popular in Alabama. They really support his agenda that they see moving forward this year. So, look, this is democracy at work. It's a runoff race down there. I just hope that people in Alabama get out and turn out today for the vote.
Senator, one of the big things that everyone's really been focusing on is this Graham-Cassidy Act, and I'm wondering how that is going to actually play out in terms of other policies such as tax cuts or tax reform. It seems like we keep going back to health care. If this doesn't pass and if this doesn't go through, will this Congress actually focus on stoking the economy and start getting tax cuts done?
Well, job one right now, of course, as you just mentioned, is getting this tax bill done. Look, it's time to move on. We cannot distract ourselves any longer. We've been on this for 8 months, and it doesn't look like we got the votes this time either. So we'll see. I mean, I like this bill. I'm for it. But right now, I'm really moving on and trying to drive to a solution on this tax. I'm really optimistic that we'll get to a tax bill this year. We have to, because this economy wants to turn. Consumer optimism is a 16-year high right now. If we just move on this tax, I believe the second half next year we'll see a nice rebound here.
Senator, does it matter who the Republicans expected to win this election, ultimate election anyway, later this year? Does it really matter whether it's Strange or Roy Moore, Luther or Roy, as we would say down south?
Well, of course it matters. You know, the people in Alabama will speak today. That's the main thing that's important. But what we need are people that will come up here and look for the national interest, not the self-interest. I mean, that's what we see playing out every week here on this health care bill. I hope we don't see that in the tax bill that we're about to take up. But I'm more encouraged because, honestly, we've been working all year on this thing behind the scenes in committee. So this I'm hopeful of, and I really believe the people in Alabama will send the right person up here.
So Senator Susan Collins joined Senators John McCain, Rand Paul, Ted Cruz in opposition against the GOP health care bill after the CBO released its latest analysis that millions would lose insurance if this proposal, Graham-Cassidy, were to become law. What are you thinking here in terms of the health care battle and its impact on tax reform?
Well, honestly, in my opinion, I think because we have failed one time at least in the Senate, it looks like now with 4 people speaking out against it this time that we're not going to even have the vote on it possibly this week. And as you know, at the end of this week, we lose the reconciliation capability of doing it under reconciliation. So I believe what that says to the Senate is, look, we had a false step there, just like the Democrats have had a false step too, Maria. I mean, this thing is collapsing under its own weight, and they're only just now saying, oh, help us fix it. In my opinion, this tax thing may actually benefit from the fact that we have not passed this health care bill yet, but we continue to work on it because people are still hurting out there because of Obamacare.
But is it the Senate's fault? I mean, seriously, the House had a bill, and you guys said we're not even going to look at it. We're going to start from scratch and do our own. How come the Senate never took the House's health care bill seriously?
Maria, this is I'm an outsider of this process. I've only been here a couple years. This is a perfect example of where self-interest trumps or outweighs the national interest. This is a problem that we have in Washington. Look, we know we have a broken system in Obamacare. Everybody acknowledges that now. People are hurting. 8 million people in 2014 were fined by the IRS $2 billion by Obamacare. And though half of those people make less than $25,000 a year, they have failed. This Obamacare has failed the very people they claim to champion. So now we have to move on to tax, because right now we need to become competitive with the rest of the world. We need to eliminate this repatriation tax, get our corporate rate to be competitive, and finally, once and for all, simplify this individual tax code.
All right, so let's go through it then. Let's go through it, because I'm interested in hearing how you would vote. I mean, if you have a corporate tax rate of 20% and a pass-through rate of 28% and a repatriate rate of 10% and individual rates of 12, 25, 35, and you eliminate all of the deductions except charity, retirement, and mortgage, will you vote for that plan?
Sounds pretty easy, doesn't it, Maria?
What do you think? So do you like what you
absolutely.
hear? The point is, do you like what you hear coming out of the White House, and will you vote yes, or are you going to dig in on some of those issues?
Well,
how will you vote? Let's say that's the plan. How will you vote?
That's an upvote for me, I guarantee you. I'd love 15%. There are going to be some pass-through issues we have to deal with, and they can be solved right now. I don't like the camp plan, and we will find there is a better solution we're talking about behind the scenes right now on that. But here's the deal. We've got to get our corporate tax rate as low as we can. The president wants 15. I want 15, honestly. And I think we can clean up the corporate welfare out there as well as we do that on deductions. But the real thing is we've got to eliminate this repatriation tax. There's some $2 or $3 trillion stuck overseas in U.S. profits. That money can come back into the country as a capital investment and create jobs.
So you would vote because you would vote no because of a 10% repatriation tax, and it's not zero?
No, I would vote yes, Maria, completely. This is a yes for me, but we're still working on this. I would rather not deem anything and not have any tax on that coming back. But this is what they're talking about, a 10% one time on what's over there right now. And most corporate CEOs would support that. But going forward, it would be zero. And that's the big issue, because that's what it is for 39 other OECD countries in the world.
Do you want this to be revenue neutral, or are you giving up on that?
Look, the way the CBO scores this, there's no way this is going to be revenue neutral, Maria, and it really doesn't matter. What has happened here is that we are obliged to follow the CBO scoring rules that have no reflection of reality. And so, yes, I believe if you invest in the early years and are disciplined in the out years, lowering this corporate tax rate is absolutely positive to our economy and to the tax situation in the federal government. Let me remind you, our federal government has exploded in size too, Maria. Just since 2000, our federal government has grown from $2.4 to $4 trillion. That's something else we've got to get at.
So how are you going to do both? Because we're talking about a lot of things here, right? We want to get repatriation of zero, but you want to stop spending. So something's got to give, Senator. Well,
it really does. But the first thing is get this tax bill that the president wants passed. We've got time to move on to save this country's debt crisis, and that's what we're working on. The reason we want this tax package is to get the economy growing again, to put people back to work. But here's the big deal. The long-term reason you get the economy growing is to solve this debt crisis, as you called out many times on your show.
Yeah. Well, we haven't seen much courage on cutting back on entitlements. Something Dagan's been talking about for 2 years. I don't know when that happens, but no courage
I think job one is get the economy going right now, start working on some of these redundant agencies. And I believe next year, if we get this done, the economy starts to work, we can start saving Social Security, whose trust fund goes to zero in 14 years, just like Medicare. This is job one. It's the two 800-pound gorillas in our future, and we've got to solve them.
All right, Senator. Good to have you on the program this morning. Thanks very much.